Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to ATP Live Monday. Alright, just trying to set my computer. Alright. Good evening, everyone, and you're welcome to ATP Live Monday. This is a program where you get to ask any questions that you may have about the health of your children, and you get your immediate answers live. Okay. Um, Set up my camera angle correctly. Okay, so welcome everyone. If you have any questions, you can start to drop your questions while I share the video to all our various platforms as well. Okay, I think we're good. All right, so good evening, everyone, and welcome to ATP Live Monday. I am Bemi Boyde. This program is brought to you by Ask the Paediatrician's Foundation, and you can ask any questions that you may have about the health of your children in the next 60 minutes that we have. So thank you to those joining us on Instagram, those joining us on Facebook. You're all welcome. And I just want to encourage you to share the video, share the link, and then we can start. I'm also just going to do the same, so let me just go and share the video. If you're watching on our page, no issues at all. You can just drop your question directly under the video. But if you're watching on our group, you have to click on the video so that you can drop your questions directly under the video. Otherwise, I may not be able to see it. So just that's extra information. Okay, but let's just share it to the groups. Okay, so how has your day been? I hope you've had a lovely Monday. Monday is always a busy day, but whichever day you had, you're welcome. So welcome everyone. Welcome to ATP Live Monday. And this is the last one for the month of September. I mean, the year is almost ending. We got just 3 months and the year will be over. I hope your year has been marvelous. But notwithstanding, you still have some months and days in the year to make up. All right. I think I'm almost done now. Okay, I need to pin it to the groups. Okay. Welcome everyone. If you have any question, you can start to drop your questions. Remember to start with the age of the child, and then you can go ahead and tell us your questions so that we have. Good evening, Hugo Adaise. Thank you so much for joining us on Facebook. All right, I'm just trying to do the pinning in all the groups as well, so that people can easily say it as well. Just okay. Yeah, I think pin posts. Okay, lovely. Let me just find this. Okay, and the groups. Good evening, yeah, Briefer. You're welcome. Good evening, Sonia. You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. Uh, okay, and I think I'm almost done with all the penny. But okay, good evening, Instagram people. Good evening. I can't see anybody on Instagram. I hope I'm on the right platform. Okay, all right. Good evening for those on Facebook. I can see you. Good evening, Cynthia. Good evening, Happiness and Adiola. Good evening. And Anatsu Garba. Good evening. Okay, so good evening, everyone. Once again, I think I'm done with all the pinning and posting in all our groups. You're all welcome to ATP Live Monday. This is a program brought to you by Atp Pediatrician's Foundation. You all know ATP, we're committed to the health and to the well-being of your children. And so we do that through our programs online and offline. And we do community medical outreaches. We're actually going to be doing an outreach in Elijah Bariga on October 4th and also in some other parts of the country. That's our Independence Day outreaches. And beyond what we do on offline, we also do community outreaches. We also do online health education and information. So this ATP Live program is one of our online programs. So you get to ask me any questions that you may have about the health of your children, and I'll try my best to answer them in the next 60 minutes. But remember that if you have any questions after the live session, you can go to our Facebook group. Our Facebook group is open Mondays to Saturdays, 24 hours every day. You post your questions, we answer them. And I thank you for so many of you are always tagging us on some other platforms. Like people will post questions and people will tag us or people will recommend us. I want to say thank you so much for your recommendation. Unfortunately, we don't. It's a lot of work to jump all over social media and answering any questions all of that people post. And we believe that health education or health information is not a democracy of opinion, so we try to keep our kind of question and answers through our own platform. So I'm happy for you to recommend us to your friends and family, but they will really need to come to our group to ask the questions or on our page or on a program like this. We don't want to get into a war of opinions on other platforms. So anybody that has health issues, health questions, they are free to come and ask on our platform, and not just anywhere where it's open to anybody to give them any opinion. All right, so thank you so much for joining us today. All right, I think I got a couple of questions, so I'm just going to go straight to them. Your briefer, Abigail. I hope I got your first name correctly. Okay, so what can I give can I give my daughter deworming drugs while she's taking antibiotics? Yes, you can. But you can just check depending on the drugs you're taking. So there are some drugs that can interact with each other. So I would recommend that, generally speaking, there is no law that say you cannot give this particular drug. Like if you are taking antibiotics and you also want to deworm your child, there is no law that says you can't do that. But we just need to make sure that the two different drugs, which you have not given us names of either of them, we just need to make sure they are compatible or they are not going to interact with each other, which is one of the reasons why giving drugs has to be the job of a pharmacist. Okay, so pharmacists do more than sell drugs. Okay, I know some of us think that maybe that's all they do, just go to them and they just give you drugs. No, they do more than just sell drugs or tell you the dose of the drugs. They also check that those drugs are compatible, so there will be no interaction, or if there's likely going to be, they may tell you that this one should be taken in the with food or without food, or you don't take the two together at the same time. So there are a lot of things that go into drugs, which is one of the reasons you will never see us prescribe drugs on our platform. And unfortunately, a lot of us just think we can just go to pharmacies and just buy drugs and just use it. No, there are lots of things that go into use of drugs. So there is what we call drug interaction, which is why it's important that the drugs are dispensed by the pharmacist. If you're just using your deworming alone, that'll be fine. It's as long as your child is not allergic to it and is using the correct dose for age, that will be fine. But once you are using 2, 3 different drugs together at the same time, a pharmacist or your doctor can also check to make sure that those drugs are actually compatible and there won't be any drug interaction. Some drugs, if you use one with another, it can reduce the effect of the other one, or it can make the side effect of the other one worse. So there are other issues when it comes to drugs. So please buy your drugs in a pharmacy and ask the pharmacist, I'm already using this particular drug. Most pharmacists will also ask you anyway, but if you also ask them, and they can always tell you, okay, it's fine or it's not fine. But if you give us specific information about the names of the drugs, then we can always check. So if you are not sure, I would rather recommend, if you cannot get a pharmacist to give you an idea, better take the drugs at different times. So give the one at a particular time and let there be some gap at least before you give the second one. So I hope that's helpful. And this applies to, while I'm still on that, before I go to the next set of questions, this actually applies to a lot of questions that people ask. Some people say, okay, my child is taking anti-malaria. Must I give blood tonic at the same time? Or my child is taking antibiotics. Must I give blood tonic? And I know that comes from a lot of what we call myths, or what do you call it, like old wife fables. So some people believe, some of our mothers and fathers believe that when you are taking antibiotics, that it dries up your blood. Actually, that is not true. There's nothing like a drug drying up anybody's blood, whether anti-malaria or antibiotics. Nothing is drying up your blood. And so it is not compulsory that you must always take and in Martinics, or what you call blood tonics, anytime you are taking antibiotics or anytime you are taking anti-malaria. You should only use those drugs only if your doctor, maybe as part of the blood workup, find out that apart from the malaria or the infection they are treating, the blood level of that child is also low, and they want to treat with they want to correct that with the blood tonic. Otherwise, there's no law that you must always use blood tonic whenever you are taking antibiotics, or you must use blood tonic whenever you are taking anti-malaria. There's nothing like any drug is drying up your blood. Nothing dries up your blood. So I hope that is just an opportunity for me to also correct that popular myth as well. All right, your briefer, I hope you got that. The next question, okay, Elizabeth, thank you for joining us. Okay, there's a question on Instagram. I always like to quickly take Instagram question before the question disappear, because it tends to disappear quite a lot, and I won't really be able to catch it on like Facebook. I can scroll up. Toluwa Share. Good evening. Please, can I drop my question? Of course, yes, Toluwa, you can drop your question. That is why I'm here, to answer your question. So feel free to drop your question on our Instagram, whether you're watching on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, anywhere you can see me. You can see the video. Just drop your question, and I will catch it and I will answer them as soon as I can. All right. So I'll wait for your question, Toluwashe. All right, let's continue with Facebook while we're waiting for the Instagram question. So Victoria is saying, please, is multivitamin good for kids? Okay, I think today is a drug day, so I will just take all the questions on drugs. Okay, so is multivitamin good for kids 5 and 6 because of stress in school? Stress in school, multivitamins, okay, they are not related. Let's start from that. Okay, so when you say stress, I'm just curious about what is stressing a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old. Most of them go to school to play. Most of them go to school to make friends. They go to learn. There's nothing stressful about school at all. So I won't count school, all the activities in school as stress. It's normal. It's normal thing for children. If you want to call it maybe good stress, I don't know, but I will not claim that as something stressful for children. I know some of us let our children go to school the whole day, and then when they finish 8 to 4 or 9 to 4 or 3, then we send them to lesson again. So we should really reduce that. It's really unnecessary. For a 5-year-old, they should go to school by 3. They should be done. They should come home and play, have their lunch, siesta, whatever, play and relax. They don't need to be in school from 9 to 4 or 9 to 5 at 5 years old. They don't really need to be there, but I guess that's a discussion for another day. So school is not supposed to be stressful for the children. However, multivitamins are not treatment for stress. Okay, multivitamins, uh, like food supplements. When we talk about food classes, we have our what we call the big nutrients, like your carbohydrates, your protein, they are the big ones. So we call them macronutrients. Then we have the small ones that your body do not really need in big quantities. We call them micronutrients. So multivitamins, minerals, they are under those kind of micronutrients. So we need to get them because they are good for some of the what we call metabolic processes, some of the things the body does, is doing to keep us running smoothly like a well-oiled machine. So they need some of those vitamins to catalyze those processes, to act as what we call coenzymes for some of those processes and all that. So we need them, but we need them in small quantities. And the best way to get them is through food, actually. We actually prefer that our children eat those vitamins. So they're actually in many of the food that we eat already, but they are usually more present in things like your fruits and your vegetables. So we really prefer that children should eat their vitamins. They should take the oranges, we supply them lots of vitamin C. Carrots will supply them a lot of vitamin A, or most of the green vegetables will supply them the vitamin A and B as well, folic acid and stuff like that. So you will get all these vitamins from real food. And if children are eating well and eating balanced, what we used to call balanced diet, we don't use those terminologies anymore, but if they are eating what we call variety of food, and in the right proportion, you have the carbohydrates, you have the protein sources, you have the vegetables, you have the fruits as part of the daily intake, they are going to get all the vitamins from the food. So they don't need to take multivitamins. Okay. So generally speaking, as pediatricians, we don't recommend drugs. We don't even multivitamins. We don't recommend them, of course. But we know there are some children that are very fussy. They are very picky, and they will not take the fruit. They will not eat the veggies. So if you are sure your child is not taking enough of those kind of food that will supply the vitamins and minerals, then yes, you can supplement with your multivitamins. But as much as possible, it's best to encourage your children to actually eat those vitamins. Like I mentioned last week, and I think almost every week, when you buy drugs, you may think you're buying vitamin C or you're buying the vitamin B or whatever. There are many more things in that tablet or that syrup than the vitamin C. In fact, the vitamin C is just one of the many things that are there as well. So there are other things they need to add to the vitamin C so that it will be stable, it will be able to stay in the shelf, it will be able to stay as a liquid form. It will not, it will last for maybe 1 year, 2 years, or whatever. So there are many things they add to those drugs to keep them preserved and protected that your children actually do not need, but we have to add them. And of course, there are NAFDAC and all the FDA that try to make sure that those excipients are kept to the minimum and not dangerous level and all that, but they're really unnecessary stuff that your children are getting to their body. So whereas if they eat the fruits and veggies directly, they won't be exposed to all those kind of stuff. So I hope this is clear. So as much as we say, encourage your children to eat the fruits and veggies, the 5 a day, whatever, and they will be getting all the vitamins. But if you are not sure, yes, you can give them multivitamins, but it's not something we just want to encourage all the time. Okay, so that's that. I hope I've clarified that. But children going to school is not stressful, really. I think that's my main emphasis. All right. So Toluwashi is saying, what is the best approach for a child with milk and egg allergy? Number one, I hope that is a diagnosis from a pediatrician and not an assumption. Okay, because sometimes parents make a lot of assumptions about allergies. There's a difference between food intolerance, food allergy. Food allergy is actually a more serious thing. Okay, so if somebody is allergic to something, there's no approach rather than avoid what the child is allergic to. So if a child is allergic to egg, the child should not take anything that contains egg. The child should not take anything. And when we say anything that contains egg, it includes so many things like your bread, like your pancakes, so many things are made from egg, your biscuits and all that. So you need to avoid them. The same thing for the milk, okay? So the first thing is to make sure that diagnosis come from a pediatrician and they confirm that your child actually allergic to the milk. And what kind of milk? Is it dairy milk? Because we also have things like soya milk. That could be a replacement. So if a pediatrician has made a diagnosis to say this child has this allergy, then you need to stay away from whatever your child is allergic to. Now, there are some conditions that maybe just the food intolerance. In other words, when the child eats a thing, they may feel a little bit, maybe nauseous, maybe a little bit, they may, pass water through and all that. That is more of an intolerance rather than an allergy. An allergy, they tend to break out with rashes and all that. Some children even have what we call anaphylaxis. They can actually die from that's a severe form of the allergy. Like some people are allergic to nuts, and even just the oil or just the smell alone, they can have very severe anaphylactic reaction. So once a child has been diagnosed with allergy, they're going to stay away from it. All right. Yeah. So if your child is having swollen eyes, itches, unexpressible food, you gotta stay permanently away from them. So, and you should be seeing an allergic doctors. So the solution for somebody like you is that the issue is that there are so many other food that have the they have the egg and milk eating in them that you don't even know. So obviously the obvious egg and milk you will know how to avoid. But this child cannot go to a birthday party and have the cake because the cake will have milk and egg inside, unless you make sure that they are only serving the eggless cake. So sometimes parents like yourself, you need to follow your child everywhere. You need to make sure that you let people know about the allergies. They cannot be tempted to take things from their friends and all that. It can be quite difficult for children, honestly, because they may not understand. So you always have to look for the alternatives. And if your child is having the swollen eyes and all that, the child needs to have what we call an EpiPen, so that when the child is exposed, sometimes with all your efforts, sometimes they can still get exposed inadvertently. So you can't easily buy things from KFC and all those other places because the child may be exposed to all this allergic stuff. So you need to have EpiPen so that if they have any exposure, then they must be able to have a kind of it's adrenaline that is in the EpiPen, so it's kind of anti-allergy kind of reaction, so it quickly breaks the process so that it doesn't get very bad, because children can actually die from such severe anaphylactic reaction, because the same way the eyes is swollen, the airway can become swollen, and when that is swollen, yeah, that can be very difficult. So you really need to manage. But you should see the allergic doctor, because sometimes some children can outgrow their allergy. So they do what we call a challenge. So sometimes they challenge them. After a while, they introduce the food, maybe like a little patch, and they see whether the children is still reacting very badly or the allergy reaction is down. But usually it's best to make sure you're working with those who are the experts, the allergy doctors and all that. So otherwise the solution is You have to stay away. I know it's really difficult because most of the stuff that children love, they always have milk and egg in them, and having the two as allergic stuff is can be quite bad. But there are many alternatives. There are eggless cake. There are other kind of milk, like instead of the usual dairy milk, I guess you mean cow milk. Your child is allergic to it. I can take soya milk and take other kind of milk that is not dairy based. So those are the things you can do. All right. Okay. Folly God is saying, how about children with anemia? What is your question with children with anemia? You need to be specific about your question. I'm not quite sure where you're coming from, so make the question more specific. All right. Abi Okunlola say, my baby was exclusive breastfed for 6 months, does not want any other meal apart from breast milk. What can I do? Yeah, so we do have a resource for you. So if you go to our Facebook group, go to the guide section, there is a guide to complementary feeding. Okay, your baby is just 6 months, so you just started complementary feeding. It is too early. You shouldn't be having that conversation to say your baby does not want anything. You are just starting, so it's new, so you have not tried much, right? Yes, because for you to say your child doesn't want anything, you are giving her the impression you've tried all the food possible, which I know it's not. You've not done that. You couldn't have done that if your baby is still 6 months old. So when you're starting complementary feeding, you should be patient and you should introduce new food gradually. For a 6 month old, the baby's main food is still 80% breast milk. So there's nothing wrong with baby wanting breast milk. So breast milk is still going to be the majority of the child's food, but you are now going to begin to add other things. And sometimes you can start small. Sometimes you just only 1 spoon the child needs to take, and then the next time we make it 2, then we make it 3. That's how we increase. So sometimes parents just want the child to start finishing the whole bowl of pap, the whole bowl of this. No, it's not going to happen that way. So it's a build up. You build it gradually and gradually. So that is what you do. So, but we have resources for you for Abi Okunlola. If you go to our Facebook group, we have about 6-7 videos on complementary feeding. What do you give them? How do you start? What quantity? And all that. I will recommend you watch those videos first. It's made by the Global Health Media, and they also have them on YouTube. They have them on a app as well. They also have them in different languages, and it's very practical videos, 5 to 7 minutes long. So they tell you how to go about complementary feeding, how to feed your child using cup and spoon, not bottles. The food you have in your kitchen, you don't necessarily have to buy anything in the store. The quantity to give. Sometimes the problem is the quantity. Mothers want the children to finish the same quantity of milk at the same quantity of pap. No, it is not. The quantity they're going to take as solid is usually very much smaller compared to the quantity they would take as a liquid, for liquid milk. And like I said, usually when you start, it's just twice a day. They need to take those complementary feed. They don't need to take it 3, 4, 5 times a day, just twice a day, while the rest is still breast milk. And then you gradually introduce new food and you gradually build it up. And then the texture also matters, and all those. So all those little issues, we'll address them in our video, and then you can always uh figure it out. Okay, so Swallow going to say, can children take milk? Children with anemia. There's nothing wrong with children with anemia taking milk. I think you jump on our conversation. We were answering a question about milk allergy. So if your child does not have milk allergy, nothing stop them from taking milk. So the only people that should not take milk is those who have milk allergy. If your child has anemia, it's more important to know what kind of anemia the child has. Is it iron deficiency anemia, folic acid deficiency? Whichever anemia, your doctors should be treating that anemia. And when they treat the anemia, then they can now but that doesn't stop the child from taking milk. There's no relationship between milk and anemia. So I hope that's helpful. So Abby, our Facebook group is still the same thing as Ask the Pediatricians. It's a Facebook group. We have our page, we also have our group, so you can't mix it. If you go on our uh, Instagram profile, you will see the link to our Facebook group there as well. Or you can just go to Facebook and look for Ask the Pediatricians. You will find it there. All right, Instagram people now have kept me here. I need to go back to Facebook. Fully go say my baby has been having cold, cough, catarrh, tried all sorts of things. How old is your baby? How long has the child been having cough, catarrh? And then we can now take it from there. And it was developed, she developed swollen adenoids. Okay, how can I help her better? Okay. Um, Okay, so fully good. When you want to ask questions, start with the age of your child, tell us the duration, okay? And then if your child already has adenoids, so um did you see the ENT doctors? They will tell you, and you just say you've tried everything, but you've not really told us how long you've tried everything so that we will know, you know, where you are and all that. So that is more relevant so that we know how to support you. All right. Nikki baby, how much milk should a 14-month-old baby take daily? What's the total calories expected for a child with low weight? What is the weight? You need to tell us the weight. Okay, so when you're asking certain questions, you need to be very specific. Okay, so if you're telling me something is low, I need to know what is the weight. Then I will decide whether it's low or not. And then to answer the question about how much milk, how much calories, I need to know the weights of the child because all those are calculated based on the weight of the child. So that's what's going to determine that. All right. Okay, so let's go back to Foley Gold's question of 1 year. A 1 year old who is having allergy from the 7 to 8 months old having cough catarrh. Is it like a child is having it every day for the past 4 months, or the child has it, it will go and come back? There are two different things exactly. So anyway, but if you have seen the doctors and they say your child has swollen adenoid, so the next people to see are the ENT doctors. So the ENT doctors will tell you what they are going to do. So swollen adenoids can predispose your child to having recurrent respiratory infections, tonsillitis, and the rest of them. And some children also have what we call recurrent allergic rhinitis as well. So those are the things that could be recurrent. So the question is, which one is the problem here? And then that will determine what we're going. If your child is having recurrent infections, and the adenoids are quite big, then the doctors may want to take them out, But usually, most of the time, we don't want to take out the adenoids if it's possible, and if it's not causing any problem, because we know that as children gets bigger, by the time they're about 4 to 6 years, the adenoid would have become smaller, will shrink on its own. But if it's really causing a lot of problems, then we need to do something about it. So I would strongly recommend that you see the ENT doctors. So they are the experts in that field and they will tell you what to do. After they may manage it first, what we call conservative with drugs, but if it's not working, then the final solution is surgery. Okay. Nikki Baby says 7.78 kilos for a 14-month-old. A 14-month-old should be weighing at least 10 kilos, at least 10 to 11, 10.5 kilos, because an 18-month old should be weighing 11 kilos. So if your child is weighing 7.78, that child is underweight. It's not so bad, but the child is still underweight. The child needs to eat more. Okay, the child ideally should be weighing 10 kilos, so we're 10.5. So I think we expect the child's calorie to be like 1,000 to 1,500 kilos per day. So if the child is already on the weight, sometimes we increase the amount of calories. So the best option for an underweight child is for you to actually see like a dietitian so that they can help you to work it out. And also just to be mindful of the fact that food is not the only reason why a child may be underweight. A child can be underweight for medical reasons. So a child can have underlying health issues, heart problem, kidney problems, endocrine problems. So we really need to be sure. So if a child is on the way, the best thing is to see a doctor first, a pediatrician. Let's make sure the issue is it the food or is there an health issue? Okay, if it is no health issue, it's just food, then we can help you work out the calories. And usually the dietitians are the experts in that. Number one, we have to make sure the child is getting enough food. Okay, so if the child is getting enough food, then we can now make sure there's nothing else. You can also make sure you've dewormed the child at least, from age of 1 year, you deworm them as well. For in terms of milk, that child, at least nothing less than 500 meals a day, but we don't want the child taking so much milk and they don't have time for the real solid. So the child also still needs to take the solid. You should be breastfeeding a 14-month-old anyway. They should still be on breastfeeding. So that may be most of the milk, but the most important thing that they are taking other food and they're taking variety of food, including protein, because those are the bodybuilding, food and all that. But because the child is already underweight, I'm going to strongly recommend first that you see a pediatrician, then you can take it up from that. All right. Okay. I think I should go back to Instagram, Facebook. I'll come back to Lorita's question so that I don't forget Facebook people. They'll be upset with me. Okay. All right. All right. Let's go back to, I think I stopped at the vitamin questions from Victoria. Okay, Happiness saying, how can one calculate a child's dosage with body's weight? For what? For how many meals can I give a child of 3 years old that weigh 14 kilo and muscle? Who prescribed the drugs for you, Happiness? Okay, I hope you didn't go and buy antibiotics on your own without a prescription, okay, because that would be wrong. So if a doctor prescribes a medication, that's the job of that doctor to calculate the dosage. So please don't use antibiotics without a doctor's prescription. So I'm not going to tell you how to calculate the dosage because I really need to be sure that a doctor has prescribed the medication for you. Antibiotic abuse is a very dangerous thing because children will develop what we call resistance to the antibiotic. And so if a doctor is recommending the antibiotic for you, it is the job of that doctor to tell you how much to take. And it's not even just a matter of, I don't want to tell you, also the dose of the antibiotic depends on what the child is being treated for. So sometimes the dose we give for respiratory infection may be different from the dose we give for urinary tract infection and how severe the infection is. So if I'm treating something that is mild, the dose I may give may be different from if I'm treating something that is a severe infection. So there are a lot that goes into dosing drugs, okay? But I think the most important thing is that you should never use antibiotics without a doctor's prescription. I know in our Nigeria, many of us get away with just going to buy antibiotics ourselves. In some other parts of the world, that will never happen. You can never buy antibiotics without a prescription from a doctor. And that doctor would have written clearly how much of the antibiotics they want the child to use. Because antibiotics resistance is a major issue and it can cause problem. So Happiness, ask the doctor who prescribed it, and if the doctor has not prescribed it, please do not use it. I'm very serious about that. Okay. Your brief said, what can be the cause of bleeding from the hair of a child of 9 months old? Did the child put anything in the hair? Did you put anything in the baby's hairs? Okay. The most common cause of bleeding from the hairs is somebody has poked that hair with anything. Usually the common culprit is a cotton bud. Somebody is trying to clean the hair and they have put cotton bud in the hair and it has punctured the what we call the tympanic membrane, the hair drum, and that is it. That's the most common cause of bleeding. Or the child may have scratched their hair as well, and there's some escoriation, like wound in the hair, outside part of the hair, that can also cause bleeding. So the first thing is for us to go and look into that hair, is know where the blood is coming from. Is it from inside or just on the outside? So I really will say don't do anything because sometimes doing something may make it worse. You need to take that child to a doctor. We need to look into the hairs. We need to know where the blood is coming from. And if you have done anything to the hair, please, you have to tell the doctors. Or if you have not, I hope the child, because a 9-month-old is big enough to hold things and they can use it on their hairs and that can cause bleeding as well. So it's not a common area for children to bleed if there is no physical trauma. That is the point. Something must have tampered with that hair for it to bleed. It's not a common area for children to bleed without any reason. That's just a point. So, but whichever case, the hairs are quite sensitive. Please don't clean the baby's ears. Their ears do not need to be cleaned. Don't put cotton bud inside the baby's ear. Just leave it alone. If they have wax, the wax will flow out, and then you can clean it as it's flowing out with your, face towel or handkerchief or something. If you think there's something brownish, the wax is inside the ears and it's really thick and it's not coming out, a drop of olive oil would do. Just put a drop of olive oil in the hair. You can apply it 3 times a day. Olive oil, all of us have olive oil at home. Just a drop of olive oil will do. It will soften the wax and it will flow out. And when it flow out, you're allowed to wash the external hair, wash, the part that you can see that your hand can touch. You can wash it and wipe it with and clean it. That's the only part of the hairs you're allowed to touch. Don't poke inside the hair at all. Don't damage the hair drum. The baby can become deaf, and that's is disability for life. So please be very careful with the hairs. We don't want you to, I'm trying to remove the hair wax. No, just apply olive oil, let it flow out and clean it out. And if you think it's not coming out, you have to see the ENT doctors. They can do more flushing, more hair syringing, but they have special equipment for doing that, okay? So please don't put anything in the baby's ears. I beg you. All right. So one more question and we'll go back to Instagram. Lixie say, what is the solution to recurring fever in a 2-year-old? We need to know why the child is having recurring fever first. There are many causes of fever, hundreds of them, starting from our most common malaria to any infection virtually in any organ of the body can cause fever. Okay, even the weather too hot can make a child hot. Actually, the child is dehydrated, it can be hot, or it could be something very sinister, even cancers, all those kind of very serious issues. They can make children to have fever as well. So if a child is having fever recurrently, please, you have to see a pediatrician. We need to investigate. And when we say investigate the cause of fever, it's not just full blood cancer malaria. I know most of you go to hospitals and all they do is full blood cancer malaria. There are many things we do when we investigate fever. We check for urine. We do urinalysis, urine infection testing and all that, urine culture. So many things that can be done. Everything is not just malaria and typhoid. Just even forget the typhoid part that most people say they are doing wider. Wider is not the way we test for typhoid to start. So there are many investigations doctors can do in a child who is having fever based on the physical examination of the child from head to toe. So don't just go to lab and say we've done malaria. Say malaria is not the only thing that can make a child to have fever. So if a child is having fever recurrently, don't just keep treating them for malaria. See a pediatrician, let us investigate the cause of the fever, and then we can take it up from there. And the treatment for recurrent fever is the treating the underlying cause of that fever itself. So that's what we would do. Okay, Loretta said good evening. Thank you for all you do. As far as 2 weeks ago, we did maybe has tonsillitis and it's better now. Oh, great. So this is just a feedback. Thank you so much. I'm really grateful that your baby is fine now. Lovely. Thank you for giving us that feedback. All right. Let's continue with Facebook. Achibang Lina, good evening, Doc. Is it advisable to add breast milk to my baby's pap? Why not? You can add breast milk to your baby's pap. You'll be clocking 6 months in 2 days. Yeah, so you only start pap in 2 days, not before 2 days. Okay, so pap should only be started exactly when baby turns 6 months, not 1 day earlier. Okay, because I know a lot of mothers are asking me about complementary feeding at 5 months. No, there's a reason why so everything we recommend as scientific basis. I know most mothers don't feel like, oh, why can't, if it's just 1 day remaining, why can't I start? So there are researches, there are scientific evidence for saying don't start at 4 months, start at 6 months and all that. So your baby's tummy, intestine, digestive process, they are ready for solid from 6 months, not before. Okay, so complementary feeding must start at 6 months. I know some people say, oh, but my mom did it at 4 months, at 3 months and all that. But there's so many things you did and you may have gotten away with, but some people will not get away with it, but you won't know that. So please trust us and follow that advice. So complementary feeding should be from 6 months. And really, truly, like you asked, the only milk your baby still need, even at 6 months, is your breast milk. Your baby does not need any other milk. You don't need to buy any other milk. So you can use your breast milk as the milk to hatch your pap. And that is perfectly okay. You don't ever need to buy any formula as well. And you can just breastfeed your baby separately and give the pap as well. Any way you like it is fine. But please remember that pap is not the only food in complementary feeding. And complementary feeding is not necessarily pap feeding, because I get a lot of questions about people saying, my baby doesn't want to take pap, doesn't want to take cereal. And as far as those moms are concerned, it's as if complementary feeding has failed. But pap is not the only food, and it is not written in the constitution that your baby even have to take pap at all. The baby may not take pap ever, and it is perfectly fine. There are so many other food that your baby can get as part of complementary feeding. Your rice, your potato, your yam, everything can be mashed, can be made into porridge form, and your child can take it, and that is still part of complementary feeding. So everything is not pap, 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 Let's be more open to trying different variety of food. So if you go to our Facebook group, please go to the guide section before you start into this time. Go and watch all those videos so that you have the right knowledge, right information. Everything you need for complementary feeding is in your kitchen. You don't need to go to any store. Just make sure you have the right knowledge. What quantity do I give? What texture? How do I mix it? What do I add? Those kind of stuff, and you'll be fine. What quantity do I need to give? How often do I need to give it? What should I not give as well? All those information, they are in the guide section. Short videos, I'm sure you can watch them within 1 hour or two, and it will kind of help you to know how to go about complementary feeding. All right. Okay. Well, Sonia, my baby is 3 months and he poops 4 to 5 times a day. That's fine. That's not bad. And it's making him not to hard weight. That is not true. So the first part of your question is okay. His baby can poo up to 12 times a day. We're actually not worried about the number of times they poo, as long as the poo itself is normal texture, it's not watery, it's not hard. As long as it's normal stool, that is perfectly okay. And your baby passing stool 4 to 5 times a day is not the cause of a child not having weight. That is an assumption. And this baby's weight is more than okay. Your baby is weighing 6 kilos at 3 months. Your baby is actually more than okay. Okay, I don't know what you want the weight to be at 3 months. We want babies to double their weight at 5 to 6 months. Your baby was 3.2 kilos and is already weighing 6 kilos, which is the weight the baby should be having around 5 to 6 months. So that is perfectly fine. So your baby is not. What were you expecting baby to have at 3 months, Sonia? Do you want baby to weigh 9 kilos? So you should know what is normal first. So babies, there are different ways we calculate what is expected weight for babies, but I always like to give easy ones for mothers to remember. Babies will double their birth weight at 5 to 6 months, and they will triple it at 1 year. So I am definitely not worried at all about your baby weighing 6 kilos at 3 months. It's more than perfect. Okay, so it's actually a little bit more better than perfect, actually. So your baby's weight is fine, and baby passing stool 3-4 times a day is absolutely fine. They can do it up to 12 times a day, actually. The other one, your baby can pass stool every time you feed, and that is also perfectly normal, as long as the stools are not watery and they are not hard. That is the most important thing for us as pediatricians. So I hope you're breastfeeding your baby. Just keep breastfeeding, and baby is absolutely fine. Okay. All right, let's move on. Dear Bogo, I'm not sure whether I got that pronunciation correctly. My apologies if I didn't. Good evening. What can be the cause of a 4-year-old always wants to scratch his back? Okay, maybe the back is itching him, and the skin is not dry. There's no rash. Yeah, so you don't always have to see rashes for you to feel like itching, but make sure you actually moisturize the skin. It may not look dry, but it could still be dry. So make sure, number one, that you're moisturizing. Make sure the child is not allergic to anything, maybe even the clothes. Some people are sensitive to even the clothes, the texture and the feel of it on the back. So you may just want to check all that. So but usually most people itching, something is making them to itch. So if there's no rash, just make sure the skin is well moisturized. Make sure the child is not reacting to something. But yeah, but otherwise there's really no. Most times you may not always see something for you to feel itchy. That's just the point. But just take care of the common stuff first and make sure the clothes itself that the child wears. Some children are very sensitive to labels, and the texture of certain clothes can make them feel itchy as well. So just look into how that as well. Okay, Instagram, no questions, so let's move on. Deborah is saying 15 months old had bacterial tonsillitis. What causes it? It's bacteria. You already answered that question. So tonsillitis, bacterial tonsillitis is a infection of the tonsils. And you already told me it's bacterial tonsillitis. That means it's caused by a germ, one of the bacteria. So that is the cause. Can it reoccur? Yes, it can. Can it be prevented? Sometimes, but not always. Just like when we say prevention, avoid the usual things that can cause germs. So make sure the children are well immunized, they're eating well, immunity is good, so they can deal with it. But sometimes, if the child have really big tonsils, those kind of children are prone to recurrent tonsillitis, and sometimes the solution is for them to be taken away to have what we call tonsillectomy, which is surgery. But usually for that to happen, the child must have had tonsillitis 6 times in a year. They must have had it recurrently. So if it is happening more than 6 times a year, then the ENT doctors want to take it out. But otherwise, we'll just watch and wait and see whether it's to kind of resolve on its own. So yeah, but the usual thing you do is just the same thing you do when it comes to avoiding infection generally. And make sure your children are well immunized, and make sure they eat well, good, especially fruits, veggies, like the welfare foods, and make sure that pay attention to hygiene generally, and especially respiratory hygiene. Avoid people coughing around them, and washing with soap and water, and all those kind of stuff. But there's no guarantee that it can happen again. So that's just how it is. Okay. It's a bogo. I can't see. Just put it up, but I've answered your question. But if you still have anything to say about it, let me know. All right. I don't think I have any more questions on Instagram. Okay, and our time is rounding up. We got 8 minutes. But just to remind you that for those who are just coming, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to ATP Live Monday, brought to you by Atp Pediatrician's Foundation. If you have any questions about the health of your children, we are here for you. And apart from this live section, which is just 1 hour, we're actually online for the rest of the day and for up to Saturdays. So Monday to Saturday, feel free to post your questions to our Facebook group, and we will try and answer them within 24, 48, 72 hours max. That's our max, is 72 hours. Please try and be patient. Don't send your questions 3, 4 times. Just send it once and be patient. Of course, if the child is very sick, please and please and please take the child to the hospital, okay? Because it's not everything we can solve on Facebook. Social media is more for health education information, but when children are already sick, we have to see them in the hospital. Okay, I got one more question. I guess maybe my last question. Okoye Elizabeth say my 2.5-year-old weighs 13 kilos. Not too bad. That's fine. Doesn't talk much as kids her age. Okay, she says daddy, mommy, calls her siblings names part of her body. some colors. Is she combining words together? I think that's what I really want to know for a 2-year-old. A 2-year-old should be combining two words together. So if she's just doing single words, just single words, there's quite a lot of single words from the list you are listing here, but she should be combining them now. She should be saying something like mommy go, mommy I want this, and things like that. So if she's beginning to combine the words, that is what we want. If she's not doing that, she's a little bit delayed in terms of her speech. It may just be an isolated delay, or it could be part of something bigger. So if you're worried enough about it as a mom, I would recommend you see a speech therapist first. If it's just a speech only, in other words, all the other aspects of her development are fine. She's playing with other children. She's not doing anything repetitive behavior whatsoever. If it's just a speech alone, you can see speech therapists and they can, work with her or give you some tips here and there. If you go to our Facebook group as well, on our guide section, we have a guide on how to promote your child's language development. You can try some of those tips, mostly play with children, encourage them and all that. So, but if you are worried or there is more, then you can see our speech therapist first. If there is more, the speech therapist can recommend you come and see the pediatrician, the developmental pediatrician, for detailed assessment. So, yeah, that's what I recommend. Chinaya, is there, please, ma'am, asking this here. My ear is full, like I have full sensation, but I'm not comfortable. Okay, are you asking for yourself? I'm a pediatrician though, not for adults. But I was feeling pain. I took analgesic. It has reduced, but the fullness is still there. So, do you feel a sensation that there's water in your head? Like if you stamp your feet, do you feel any like bubbling? All of us know when there's water inside your head. You know the way it feels. If that is how you're feeling, no worries. I'm sure it will pass once the water comes out. But if there is more, then you say you have full sensation, you are not comfortable, you are feeling pain. If you're feeling pain, I'm going to recommend you sit, because if you have just water in your head, you shouldn't be feeling pain. So if you are feeling pain and analgesic is only reducing it a little, I will recommend you see a doctor, because you also say you had catarrh. You may actually have maybe sinusitis or one of those stuff because of so you may want to see my recommendation as a pediatrician, but I'm not an adult doctor. So, but I'll recommend you see a doctor just to check you out as well. You may just be one of those things as well. It's really because you're having pain. I'm really concerned about ear pain. I would recommend that you see a doctor colleague for proper evaluation. All right, so I guess I need to start saying my goodbye. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. For those of you, especially who joined me on Instagram was on fire today. Like everybody, the question was going back and forth. Okay, Toluwashe, thank you. Thank you so much for the entire ATP team. We appreciate you for joining us as well. Thank you so much also to all my Facebook people always there consistently. But like I said, if you still have any questions, or if you are watching the rebroadcast, you can always, if you listen to the end from the beginning to the end and we've not addressed your question, you can go to our Facebook group. Ask the Pediatrician Facebook group. We have about 4 Facebook groups actually, but the one for the children is Ask the Pediatrician Facebook groups. You can ask your question Mondays to Saturdays, and we also have the ATP family, which is for the adults, and then we have our ATP Still a Mom, First Time Mom group as well. So you're all welcome. But our major group is Ask the Pediatricians. Feel free to post your questions there, and we'll try and answer them as much as we can between Mondays to Saturdays, 24 hours on those days. We don't usually answer questions on Sundays. We are closed. Okay. And if a child is sick, please take them to the hospital. If you also want to learn more about any of these things we've talked about, we've written about them, you can check our website, www.askthepediatricians.com, or you can check our podcast, Ask Dr. Gbemi ATP podcast. You can also check our YouTube channel, and ATP TV, TV double E at the end. So those are our social media channels. Of course, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on whichever one, all the platforms. So please follow us so that you can learn. We are your partners in making sure your children are healthy. And I will see you again next week in October. Happy Independence Day to Nigeria in advance. And also, we're having our outreach in Elijah Bariga on the 4th of October in Lagos and in other places. Just watch out for it. And if you want to be part of us, you want to support us financially, or you want to be a volunteer for us, feel free to reach us on our WhatsApp number. I'm sure it's showing on your screen, or send us an email, askthepaediatricians@gmail.com, and we will try and respond as soon as possible. So thank you so much. Precious, you're just coming. Welcome. But there are lots of causes of babies' frontal to be big. You didn't start off with the age of the child, but I would recommend that if you're really worried about it, you have to see a pediatrician so that they can evaluate that child properly. I just don't want to leave your question unanswered, but there are many causes as well. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. I got to go. Have a wonderful evening. Bye bye. Bye bye from me.